So again, welcome everyone to the session today. My name is Priti. I'm Health and Safety Excellence Program Consultant here at WSPS. And welcome to WSIB's Health and Safety Excellence Program, Learn the Benefits Safety Connection session this morning. I would like to start by inviting you to take a short survey to help us improve safety connections. We're collecting demographic info for our funder, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, MLITST. Your responses will stay secure and anonymous. WSPS will analyze the survey results before sharing them in aggregate form with MLITST. Participation is completely optional. To start the survey, click on the link. This link right here. Sorry, there we go. The link right here. Or you can scan the QR code. You would need to put in the 6-digit function number right here. And that's about it. Thank you for helping make health and safety training accessible for all. I'll give you a second if you want to go ahead and do the survey. Thank you. Excellent. With that, I would just like to start the session this morning pointing out a few important things. We recommend that you use the computer audio for this session. If for some reason you're having issues with your computer audio, I recommend using the phone conference line. I also recommend you mute all your other devices and apps to avoid any distractions. For the duration of the session, you would be put on mute, your microphones are muted, and your cameras have been turned off. This is just to keep our bandwidth in control and we can have a seamless session. I encourage you to use the chat function. It's right up on the top ribbon, the little bubble. Please go ahead and use that function to communicate with your presenters today and with other folks on this session. To familiarize folks that are not familiar with using Teams, there is a React button right on top ribbon. If you like what you're hearing, please go ahead, provide us with a thumbs up. It just gives us some kind of encouragement. If you're not liking it, you're confused, you're surprised, go ahead, give us those emojis. We will have a couple of polls during the session today. They will appear in your chat and on your screen. So choose an answer and click the submit button. And again, just to reiterate, please go ahead and use your chat whenever you want to communicate with us. For those of you who like live captions like myself, you can click on the 3 dots and you have the more written right underneath it, and you can go ahead and click on turn on live captions, and that'll bring on the live captions for you. If you want to view the session in full screen, I encourage you to go to the view button, click on more options, and then click on full screen. Please keep in mind, if you go in full screen, you cannot see the chat function, so you would need to escape, click on the escape button to get back into this mode over here. The Safety Connection program has 4 main goals: to learn, share, and discover what is of value to you, our customers, and our community, to connect virtually with industry peers, to facilitate a best practice exchange, and to provide an opportunity to attend health and safety webinar from our personal workspace. And with that, I would like to begin our session this morning and introduce my co-hosts here. I have Stephen De Silva from WSPS. Stephen will be monitoring our chat this morning. Hi, Stephen. We have Pam Reswick, who is also co-hosting the session with me this morning, myself, and we have special guests from WSIB, Vince Godin, and he will be also talking to you this morning. So Vince has been with WSIB as a Health and Safety Excellence Program Consultant. He works in Sudbury and serves North and Eastern Ontario. Vince has been with WSIB for over 2 years. However, for over 20 years, he was a district manager for the CFIB, where he provided employees with health and safety advice on compliance and how to keep their employees safe. Today's agenda looks, just a quick look at the agenda today. We have the program overview, program rebates, incentives. We'll talk a little bit about topic selection and eligibility, topic implementation, program support, WSIB validation, benefits for joining, how to register, and we'll have a Q&A session. Before we begin the session this morning, just to understand how everybody feels or about this program, with the little information you have, what is it that you're interested in this program about? Is it, you're looking to improve the health and safety system and culture in your business? Are you looking to join the program for financial rebates for the badges? Is it because you want to connect with health and safety experts for ongoing support and resources? I encourage you to take the poll, and it could be all of the above answers. So there is no right or wrong. So I will give you a moment. So Jillian, if we can bring up the poll, that'll be wonderful. And we can try and just go over, again, please take the time. Let me know what you're interested in when you've heard about this program. What is it that you would like to hear more about? What is of interest to you?
Seem to be a poll ready to go. My apologies, but maybe we
Okay.
could use the chat for this one.
Sure, we can do a chat, or how about a react, everyone? So if those of you who would like to, who are interested in this program, oh, see, perfect chat's working. I have someone who says all of the above. We can use the chat function. Excellent. Thank you all. Excellent. Great. I love it. So a lot of us are saying, all of the above. So that is great. Great. And those are all great reasons to be here at this session this morning. We'll talk a little bit about how you can benefit with all the above. Okay. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you all. Thank you all for participating. I really appreciate it. We will go forward to the next slide now. And this is a simple true or false. So we'll start with the first statement. Based on what you know, do you think the statement is true? You can receive up to $1,000 every time you register in the program and your topics get approved. Your selected topics get approved. You can use the chat function if you like again. Just tell me if you think this the statement is true. Oh, poll's working, I think now. Thank you. Or you can go ahead. Okay, I have some responses. Excellent, excellent. Okay. Great. So I have some of you who think this statement is true and some thinking it's false. So this is a true statement. So each time that you register in the program, you get the $1,000 when your action plan or your topics get approved. Okay, let's try another one. The maximum rebate that you can receive regardless of the number of topics completed is 200% or twice the premium reported in the previous year. Do you guys think this statement is true or false? Again, just take a guess. Okay, excellent. I see some responses coming in. Okay, so most of you think that the statement is true. There are some people who think it's false. This is a true statement. Okay, excellent. So that's great way. You guys know some of this stuff, and then we're going to clarify some of this information for you today. So with that, I would like to get Vince, call out at Vince to talk to you a little bit about the program overview.
Sorry, guys, just gonna have to do a little bit of housekeeping here. Hope everyone is well. My name is Vincent Godet. Here to talk to you a little bit about the program and what we're doing here. So, what is the Health and Safety Excellence Program? Well, it's a flexible, voluntary program that helps you make your workplace safer while earning rebates on WSIB premiums. You're going to be working with a WSIB approved provider, like WSPS, and to make improvements in your workplace by implementing different topics. All right, you're going to earn rebates when you successfully implement those topics. So we'll provide more information about those topics a little later on down the road. Sorry, I'm having a hard time here. We're a little bit different in terms of the how I usually see the screen. My apologies. So just something to consider here. We had one of the members actually provide us with a testimonial saying we would highly recommend the Health and Safety Excellence Program to any organization looking to strengthen their safety programs and receive a rebate or a return on their investment for doing so. All right. Now, there are 4 steps in the program, in the journey. That would be the join, the demonstrate, and achieve. So you'll be joining the program by selecting one of our approved providers like WSPS. You'll also choose program topics you want to focus on in your work cycle. And your provider is going to help you through the whole process, okay? If you're scheduled one businesses that pays premiums, you'll also receive that $1,000 that Pretty was talking about when you choose your topics. So that's an additional rebate you're going to receive from the WSIB when you, that's over and above the actual rebates that you're going to receive for the topics that you complete. Now, next you'll complete your chosen topics in the development stage. That's where you're going to show us. Then you're going to show us, what you did, the work that you did. That's the demonstrate step. And of course, the last one, the last step, which everybody is really very excited about, is earning the rebates from WSIB, right? So we'll talk about every step as we go here. All right. So just one more testimonial. This is a very somewhat small business. Actually, I believe he's one of WSPS's clients, Jeffrey's Greenhouse. They stated that they had a great experience with their provider who offered valuable industry-specific support they wouldn't have received if they weren't in the program. So really nice. So let's talk about the topics. There are 41 topics in the program spread across 3 levels to help you build that robust health and safety management system. Each topic has a requirement that you must meet to earn those rebates on your WSIB premiums. Please know that we're looking for new topics to enhance the system. WSIB will not accept a topic if you already have a policy or procedure that has been signed off by management, that kind of thing. So they need to be enhancements, not continuous improvement. Okay. So foundational is where basically you're going to really get started here. So these are sort of the base that it builds that base platform that so you can create that robust health and safety management system in your place of business. This includes many of the legislative requirements, but also includes performing your risk assessment and then controlling those hazards in your workplace based on that assessment. So it allows you to go above and beyond to uncover the root causes of workplace injuries and illnesses in your place of business. Intermediate, sorry about that, folks. There we go. Intermediate level topics is when you really start working on a health and safety management system, meaning that you're integrating your health and safety program into your processes, your operations, and the activities of that organization, of your organization. All right, so the next step is that this is the advanced stage. So the advanced level topics are where you optimize your health and safety management system so that it's really truly working to prevent those injuries and illnesses. All right, so there are conditions for eligibility. You need to select topics at any level. Topics must be, as I said, new to your workplace. Topics are considered new if no approved written topic standards are in place. And existing topics, unfortunately, are not going to be, you're not going to receive a rebate for doing the continuous improvement on those. And the other thing that we want to make sure you're aware of is this is really flexible. You can actually choose 1 to 5 topics. If you're unsure or you're very busy, just select 1 topic, start the process, get moving on the process. That's what we're suggesting. So if you're unsure, just speak to Pretty or whoever gets in contact with you from WSPS. So the foundational levels includes many of the legislative requirements, like I said, which is great. These are the topics. So if by chance you're looking to make sure that there's more conversations and more information being sort of spread out across the organization for health and safety purposes, your provider might choose to, or might say you might want to look at leadership and commitment or something like that, or health and safety participation as a topic. All right. So again, these will basically, you're taking the steps to address anything that's required for to build that base platform for you. Intermediate is where you start working on the health and safety management system. There is, at this point, this is where the rubber really meets the road. This is where you're going to make those enhancements that are really, really going to help make sure that your place is safe. And then, of course, once you've finished all that level, the next is that topics, that advanced topics. This is where, people that are in maybe that have core certification or that are, close to that core certification might want to be looking to find the topics that they should be working on. All right. So let's talk about rebates and incentives, which is great. Our rebate structure is really designed to be very, very simple to understand and easy to estimate your rebates. All you're going to need is your last year's premiums, which can be found online on your online service account, or as a consultant, I can definitely help you with that as well. Next, you're going to find the premium range category to see your what you would receive for rebates per topic. So an example of that would be, in a previous last year, a business that paid $60,000 in premiums. Well, that falls into range 2 between 50 and 100,000. So they would receive $3,000 per topic. And again, as Pretty mentioned before, the maximum rebate, regardless of the number of topics, is 200% of last year's premiums. All right. So here's an example of what we're talking about here when it comes to being 200% of what you paid out. So a small business here, this is a bakery. Last year they paid premiums of $2,800. Well, in a normal case, you would receive $2,000 per topic. So 3 topics, that equals $6,000. But because they've only paid $2,800 in premiums, I don't know about the saying that it's only, but it's a good amount of dollars. You're going to receive double that for doing 3 topics. You would receive $5,600 instead of the $3,000. If you would have paid $3,000 in premiums, you would have received $6,000 in rebates. So the rebate is for the topics that you complete is $5,600. Then that initial extra incentive that we have in place gives you a total of $6,600 in rebates or dollars that are going to be used for anything that you want. But again, we want to make sure that some of it hopefully is being used to enhance your health and safety. Right? So here's a medium-sized business. Manufacturing company, they reported premiums of $70,000, which gives them, they're in that range of that $3,000 per topic. So they complete 4 topics, they're going to receive $12,000 plus that $1,000 incentive. So a complete rebate of $13,000. Not a bad return on investment. All right, here's a larger business. This is a hospital. They paid $800,000 in premiums last year. This gives them, they're in the range where they're going to receive $12,000 per topic. They decide to complete 5 topics in their action plan. They're going to receive that rebate of $60,000, so 12,000 times 5. And then they're also going to receive the $1,000 incentive, so total rebates of $61,000. So in addition to the financial rewards, we're going to give you a badge that you can use to show your employees, your customers, your business partners that you are dedicated to health and safety. You're going to receive that members badge when you join the program, and then you're going to receive additional foundational once you complete all the topics, intermediate, and advanced badges when you finish each level. It's not mandatory to finish each level, but it is definitely, of course, we want to see them. So if you do have things in place, that's okay, not a problem. As long as you can show that you have the members badge there, it shows that you're going above and beyond what the legislative requirements are. So our existing members are using them on things like that badge on their website, email signatures, in marketing materials, as well as their health and safety boards. I actually have a member of mine that actually created a flag, and it's actually on their flagpole in front of their place of business, which is kind of cool, right? So I'll also point out that when people look at your business on Safety Check, there's a Safety Check tool. That is a publicly accessible tool that is on our website where you can actually see how other businesses, if you like to do that, you can go and see how they're doing. This is a really key thing, for individuals. A lot of individuals that are looking for employment are actually looking at this Safety Check to see how safe you guys really are. So it appears on the profile. It lets you know that you're dedicated to health and safety. All right. So, again, all businesses will receive that $1,000 incentive, and each topic and the rebates for each approved topic from that point, which is great. I think I'm done now, Pretty.
Thank you, Rich.
My apologies.
No, it's okay. Thank
I was
you
on a roll.
It's okay. I think it's an interesting topic, right? Why not? $1,000 incentive and the rebate. So thank you. And I appreciate all the information you've shared with us. I am going to go ahead and just reiterate what Wynn said. So again, you are getting the $1,000 when your topics that you're selected get approved. And on top of that, you will get the rebate once you've completed your action plan and WSIB has validated all your topics and you're successful in the validation. Okay? So I'll just take a pause now. If you have any questions for WITS in relation to, the incentives, the rebates, the topic selection, new topics versus continuous improvement, I encourage you to take a moment and put your questions in the chat. We will be taking these questions on as we keep moving along with the session today. And again, for the questions that we haven't answered so far, we will answer them at our Q&A later on in the session. Okay, but if you have any questions that are coming to mind, I encourage you to put them in the chat. Thank you. And we'll talk a little bit now about investment. So what does it cost you as a business owner to get started, register in this program? So for those of you who have reported premiums, and we are talking about the premiums reported last year, right? So if your premiums last year were less than 100K, you would be paying $800 plus HST. If your reported premiums last year were between 100K to $1 million, then you will be paying $1,700 plus HST. And if you reported premiums more than $1 million, you would be paying $2,500 plus HST. I also want to bring in, as a special note here, for those of you that have multiple locations, different WSIB accounts. So if you have more than 5 locations registering in the program, you get $200 discount per application. Okay. So what are the benefits to this program? There are tons of benefits. So first of all, you get a dedicated health and safety consultant working with you. We have free resources and template library that you can choose from. We have an exclusive member community site that's available to our members only 24/7. We have monthly live orientation sessions, learning and networking clinics, quarterly guest speakers, and of course, WSPS support during and post-program participation. And of course, I do also want to mention for our members that are registered in the program, you also get the 10% discount off some of our products and services. There are some exemptions, but we can connect with our customer care department to get more details on that. With that, I would like to bring on my colleague here, Pam, to talk to you about topic implementation.
All right. Thank you, Pretty. So now I know you've learned about the Health and Safety Excellence Program. You have an idea of what the topics are, a little bit about the rebates. And if I was sitting in your seat, I'd be like, okay, this sounds interesting, but now what do I have to do? So when we talk about develop and demonstrate our topic, what does that mean in terms of actual work for me? So that's what I'm going to talk about for the next couple of slides. But before we do that, I want to start with a quick polling question, just to get an idea to see more about what your understanding is in terms of implementation. So the polling question is, which of the following are implementation models used for health and safety? So Jillian, if you could bring that polling question up, and just like the other ones, you can put your answer here, as many as you think are applicable, or you could put it in the chat. So I see a lot of people are familiar with the Plan, Do, Check, Act, 5-step model, ABC framework. Okay, that's great. By far the PDCA, I think. Interesting. All right, well, thank you for your response. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two implementation models. Often when we speak about implementation models in terms of health and safety, we're talking about these two models. So the Plan, Do, Check, Act and the 5-step implementation model. And they are very, very similar. In fact, really the main difference is if you're looking at the 5-step model, the communication and training step are combined together in the Plan, Do, Check, Act. So under the Do section, but you're still doing the same information. So, or the same steps, sorry. So when you're at the planning stage, you're creating a standard, or some people call it a procedure, and then communicating and training. So you're communicating with your employees about what the Health and Safety Excellence Program is, what they can expect, and what topics that have been chosen and that we'll be working on for that time period. Then you get to the check, which is evaluating the entire topic. So that specific topic, how it was rolled out, how effective it is it doing what you hoped it would do? Are there any gaps that are being identified? We know sometimes we try new things in the workplace and they don't always work out the way we planned. So sometimes gaps are identified, and that's okay. That's part of the learning process. The important part is that we identify those gaps and then we work to close those gaps. And that's why it's so important to evaluate, to check on your implementation to see what the outcome has been. And that leads us to the last stage, or the act or make improvement and acknowledge success. It's important to close those gaps, but also to take a moment to celebrate, to acknowledge the work that's been put into the topic and all the support you've had from the people within the workplace, and give them a thank you and let them know about the success. So that is your topic implementation models, and you can choose either one of those models. Some people are already set up in their workplace using the Plan, Do, Check, Act, so it makes sense to follow with that 4-step. Other people have been familiar with 5-step implementation model, maybe because of other programs they've been involved in, and you can certainly do that too. And here's a little bit more information about what occurs at each step. As I mentioned, and here we've got it set up both ways, the plan, or you write your standard, your topic standard, your program, communicate, just keeping everybody in the loop. You're training your employees and making sure you keep records of all training. And I think that's important for every step of this program. You're going to want to keep documentation. The important part for the check or evaluation step is you want to leave some time, and we used to call it living and breathing. So you train your employees. We want them to incorporate it into their day-to-day life. So we want to give it some time. And then about 2 months after, that's when you're going to be doing your evaluation to see what they remember. It also gives you a chance to use maybe some of those new forms that you've been created and to give you some information to help you with your evaluation. If it's been a short period of time, there might not be anything to evaluate. So you want to give it that time. And then, as I mentioned before, acknowledge the success, act on any changes that are necessary to your program. And I always encourage people to think about what they're already doing in the workplace. What is working for you, right? Do you already have some kind of template for when you're writing procedures? How do you communicate your staff? Thinking about the staff you have. Do you have remote staff? Do they work shift work? Are there literacy issues? Do they have access to email? These are all things to think about. If you have something that already works successfully in your workplace, then you can continue doing it. But this program also gives you an opportunity to try new things as well when it comes to communicating and training and evaluation. So not to worry, we don't leave you out if you don't have anything set up in your workplace, if you're just starting. We do have lots of resources to help you. And these resources that can help you through the entire journey. So help to keep you on track. And I'd like to share a story about a member that I'm working with. They are just finishing their 3rd year in the HSEP program. And this member runs a restaurant and a hotel. And they have some challenges. They are 300 kilometers north of Sudbury. So they're not around a lot of people. And the owners themselves, they live 8 hours away. So when we set up and start talking about this program, we looked at the resources that were available to help them and support them. And they have been successful. And part of their success is from using the resources, the free resources that come with the HSEP program. And when I talk about resources, I'm talking about procedure templates, checklists, videos, and of course, keeping in touch with their consultant. In this case, for this one, it's for me. And I keep a regular check with this customer. They're always providing information for me to review. They ask if they have a question, so they don't get stuck or bogged down because they get confused maybe with what one of the requirements are. We have a community site, as mentioned earlier, and that is available 24/7. So they're able to access this information when it's convenient from them at a remote location, work through the information, and then get some feedback from me. So it's very helpful to have that kind of resource that you can personalize. And by personalizing, I mean removing items and tasks that don't make sense or aren't applicable to your workplace, and personalizing it by adding this task or the steps, what your workers actually do in your workplace. So it is much more meaningful and personalized for your workplace. And with that, I'm going to take a second, and Pretty, do you mind bringing up the community site slides? Because I wanted you to see what it looks like and what kind of things you can see in our community site.
Sure. Thank you, Pam. So this is a site exclusive to our Excellence Program members only. And like Pam mentioned, this is a great tool. It's available to you 24/7. So you can kind of just go in and it comes with a lot of great information. We have some on-demand videos that you can, again, we appreciate how many of you wear multiple hats, doing multiple things, and are taking care of health and safety in your businesses. So again, during the time, during the day, you don't have the time. You can look at the resources, look at the information at the time available to you. So again, great resource. We have information about, the topics, the WSIB requirements. It comes to you with templates, resources. It also comes with a list of our monthly events. So we do host a lot of sessions, orientation session, our clinics, validation clinics. We have guest speakers come in from WSIB, from Office of Employer Advisors. So great stuff happening. And the community site is always the best way to keep up to date what's happening in terms of, health and safety excellence program. And with that, I would like to invite Pam back to talk to you folks about topic validation.
That's great. Thanks. Yeah, I think this is the next most important part when you talk about, all right, so what do I have to do So that's a little bit about what you have to do in terms of implementation models. And then this part here, the validation, is now what do I do with it? And what does WSIB expect from me? Because I want a successful validation, I want to get my rebate back, and I want to be successful in improving my health and safety in the workplace. And so validation is where you demonstrate to WSIB how you implemented your topics in an easy way for WSIB to understand. And so the validation is divided into two parts. The first is answering questions about topic implementation. So what did you do in your workplace? How did you roll it out? And the second part is showing evidence to support what you did. So on the left side of the screen here, you'll see the first two steps of our evidence story template. And you see that it asks some specific questions from each step. So step one, so the plan or creating a procedure, and step two, the communication. So you'd fill out this story, the template, and then on the right side, you'll see that there are examples of what you can provide to support what you've done. And it doesn't matter whether you do the Plan, Do, Check, Act or the 5-step model. They're both acceptable. You can submit information at each one of these topic levels. So when you do that, your consultant with WSPS will review your procedures, your evidence story, and provide feedback before you send it to WSIB. If, as a consultant, I'm confused about what's being sent to me, it's possible that the validator will be confused as well. So we want to make sure it's clear and it's presented in an organized format. Once submitted, the validator will review your submissions to see that all the requirements have been met and the evidence that you provide supports the implementation of the topic in your workplace. So it's not enough just to write the procedure. You also have to show how you trained your employees on that procedure. And so here's an example of going back to that restaurant and hotel I mentioned earlier. They chose a topic of incident, illness, and injury reporting. And so this is the evidence they submitted to support their topic for validation. So for the plan or create, of course, submitting the copy of the procedure or their standard was submitted to give the validator an idea of what the procedure is all about. And then because this is a smaller real employer, they don't have a lot of technology, they included a letter with their employees' pay notifying them that they were participating in the Health and Safety Excellence Program, and talked about the topics that they had chosen. They also put a copy of this letter on their Health and Safety board so everyone could see it and check it when if they had any questions. Some people can use email. Sometimes this is done if you in a workplace on your health and safety board or through a safety chat. It really depends on the workplace and how you communicate the best with your employees. The training was completed when a manager and their health and safety rep reviewed, or they distributed the procedure, and then they reviewed the procedure with all staff. And then they talked about the incident reporting, the actual report, so what they wanted to be completed if an injury happened. And they made a little case study of someone being burned in the kitchen, and they all walked through that report. So not only did they understand the procedure, the reporting requirements, and what was expected in the report, and that together was their training. So they were able to include the training records for that next step to show that along with communication, they communicated and they trained their employees. So then they got to the check and evaluation step. And so this one, they just used a paper survey asking their employees about that topic. So what happens if somebody is injured? How do you report it? Who do you report it to? All the information that came out of that procedure. And based on that, they were able to identify a couple gaps. And that's fine because, as I mentioned before, gaps are very common when you're rolling out a new program. They also interviewed the owner of the restaurant and the inn, just a quick one with their phone, asked a couple questions that showed that the manager was knowledgeable in the reporting requirements, as well as the need for a first aid and checklist, and then it gets inspected. So when they were checking and evaluating, they identified the gaps, that there was no list for the first aid kit to ensure that it was kept up to date. And they also noted they had 2 new employees start since their original training. So they hadn't received this new training and they weren't sure about reporting hazards. So they took that information and used that as their gap. And so they were able to show that survey and the little video of the interview as their evidence to meet that requirement. And then the last step, the acknowledge success and the act to close the gap. They showed or provided a picture of the first aid list that they had added to the first aid kit. And then they showed a picture of a binder that they had created with a pocket system to help them keep track of who was trained on this topic to make sure they didn't miss training in the future. And then they all celebrated their completion of this topic by a thank you, and then they had a little celebration in which they were able to upload some photos of the team celebrating, and of course they sent those copies of pictures of those the binder and the list for the first aid kit, and that was the actual evidence that showed that they met the requirements by identifying any gaps and closing those gaps. So it doesn't have to be anything really wild and crazy, and you can choose what kind of evidence you want to submit. Obviously, a procedure is important to support that you have a procedure, but you can use emails, pictures, copies of reports. There's a wide range of evidence that you can choose from to support the topics that you are implementing. And as mentioned, there are a lot of benefits to working with this program. And I think it's important to recognize that no matter whether you're a large program or a small program, there are resources suitable for you and that can assist you to be successful. People that are here to help you, lots of resources that you can make work for you that you can implement within your workplace. So all you have to do now is decide, are you ready to register? And to learn more about the registration process, I'm going to turn it back to Pretty.
Thank you, Pam. And thank you for sharing that example. What a great example, right? So it doesn't matter the size of your business. You could be a big business or a small business. This program is something that fits in, in everyone's goals, and there are ways to do it. You can use technology, emails. You can use, a whole bunch of stuff, take pictures for evidence. So while it seems overwhelming, and I know this information can be too much, so again, we're open to questions. We're here for you. So please take the opportunity to put down any questions you might have. And with that, I would like to talk to you a little bit about how to register. So if you feel that you're ready to take the next step, I encourage you to go on to our website, WSPS.ca. Right besides our logo, we have a tab that says how we help. I encourage you to click on that. And with that, our pop-up menu will show up. You will click on WSIB Health and Safety Excellence Program, scroll down, and you have a nice fancy blue button that says Apply Now. And you simply click on that. And with that, it brings out our online application form. Once that is filled out, you hit the Submit button. Our team gets it and it gets processed by our customer care department. And then once the registration is complete, we will send you an email, a confirmation email, welcoming you to the team. Do you have any questions? We'll take a pause now. Again, we did throw a lot of information at you this morning. I want to take a pause and I want you to, take this opportunity to put down any questions you might have. Please go ahead, use the chat function if you have any questions for us.
There was quite a bit of questions answered in the chat box throughout the session, Pretty. Most of them have been answered, but yes, definitely highly encourage if anybody wants to ask any other questions while we're wrapping up, definitely please do so.
Thank you, Stephen. And again, this is a lot of information to take in all at once. completely understand that. But please know that, if something comes back after the session, you think of something, reach out to us, and one of us would be happy to get on call with you and go over the information again with you, okay? So if you don't have any questions, I would like to take a moment and thank you all for attending the session this morning with us. I do want you to, again, I see a question here.
There is a question. Yeah.
Oh, there are
There's
a
a
couple
few of them
coming
coming
now.
through. Yeah, they're
So
coming through now. So I'll read them to you, Pretty.
Thank you.
So if an organization that had created a program over 5 years ago and stopped implementing the procedures, when they restart the program, will this be considered a new program?
So Marcus, my question to you would be, do you have, signed procedures, approved procedures and documentation? Did you ever create procedures and documentations? We have to be careful with what we call as continuous improvement and net new, or creating new procedures, right? Because the whole purpose of this program is to kind of focus on new initiatives, right? So if we have something, that is lying, that has gaps, we just want to tweak it, then it might be more of continuous improvement. I hope, Marcus, that kind of answers your question. And please feel free, if there is, some specific concerns that you might have, please put them in the chat, or if you want to connect after, I'll be more than happy to, or what, actually, Vince, do you want to add something to what I said?
Pretty, I think you've got it bang on. At the end of the day, if it's the problem is if you have a signed policy and procedure in place, then it's recognized as continuous improvement. Even if you see it as out of date, Marcus, I get it. But this is a policy, a procedure that is put in place. It's been there. That's recognized as continuous improvement.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Ben. So, Marcus, I see your response. You're saying that, it would be out of date and, training the new employees. So great point. I completely understand what you're saying. However, training new employees, orienting your new employees, or, updating would be considered continuous improvement for that. Okay.
And just to continue on with that, Sharma had mentioned too, you guys mentioned that only new topics can be selected. Can you talk more or for a few more seconds? So yes, so as Vince and my colleague Pretty had mentioned, if it's not new, if it's continuous improvement, it's not eligible in the program. So hopefully, I think they did hopefully answer most of the questions there, Sharma. I just want to just confirm if you're okay with the answers that were answered there. Okay.
So,
And
sorry,
then,
go ahead, Stephen.
yeah,
There is
so
a follow-up.
so I just noticed it was a thumbs up, so I think we're good with that question. There is a couple still more in the chat box coming through, so it is starting to get a little bit busy in there. So I'm just going to get through the next few. So there was a question about the recording. So Carl had mentioned, hello, how can I access this recording? Unfortunately, I had a connection issue. How will we be able to get access to the recording? I think that's a question for
So,
the safety connection. Yeah, go ahead.
So our team will follow up with an email later on. So it does take a couple of weeks when we talk about recordings. So maybe we'll all send you a follow-up email with information that was discussed today. And please note that even though we try our best, just because of technical issues, it does take us a couple of weeks to get this out. Okay.
Thank you, Pretty.
Thank you.
So I'll just continue on. So Marcus said, thank you for answering the question. So Sharma, how about if a corporate has a documented program, but it hasn't launched at few sites? Would this be a new topic for the site? I guess, so yeah, if you want to answer that one, Pretty. So,
Sure.
So if it exists in the corporate organization, but not at the other sites, so what would you say?
So I have a question for you. Now, when we talk about different sites, are we referring to different WSIB numbers? So if, your locations are separate entities altogether, right? And they don't have what corporate had. So again, health and safety is not one size fits all, right? So again, it has to be tailored. So if you want to kind of come up with your own procedures to best suit your sites, and it's new, it is considered a new initiative. But if you're saying that you already use the procedures through the head office and they're not tweaked, then you're kind of improving on them if the procedures were approved in the other location. So sorry, am I kind of answering that question? Does it make sense? Or yeah, okay. And does anyone else want to jump in? I know I have Stephen, Vince. Do you want to add to that, or Pam?
I think you got it right.
Oh,
Yeah, you got it, Pretty.
so I was just going to add that you mentioned about WSIB numbers. If you have multiple sites and they have different WSIB numbers, and one of those sites has not had it rolled out, then you could do it to be considered new. But if they're all under the same WSIB number, then no, it would not be considered new.
Thank you, Pam. So I'm just going to scan through if I have another question.
So yeah, so there's quite a few still. So I'll just continue reading them.
Thank you, Stephen.
So Antoinetta just also asking about the presentation. If we don't get a recording, she asks, or perhaps the deck, can we please have access to the presentation?
Okay, so we do have a lot of resources that will be emailed to you. I'm not quite sure about the deck. Now, we do not share the deck, unfortunately. However, the information that was available on the deck today, you would be getting it, again, in another format, an email. You can check this information also on our website. So when you go on to WSPS.ca, get into, how we went through that little thing that says how we help, go down to WSIB Health and Safety Excellence Program. All this information is there in detail. And if you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to one of us. The phone number, I will be sharing the screen after, will be up there, and we would be happy to connect with you one-on-one. Okay.
And then just a comment at the end here with Marie. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to share that I'm a current excellence program member using WSPS as my provider, and they have been great provider to use and very helpful and supportive throughout the process. I'm just here to keep up to date with the program. Thank you so much for that wonderful comment, Marie.
Thank you, Marie.
And then I do see another one just came in. Approximately how much time should we allocate to completing each topic? That's from Andrea.
Okay, thank you for that, Stephen. So Andrea, thank you for your question. It's a great question. I'll be completely honest with you. We have businesses in this program, different size businesses. Some of them have health and safety teams. Some of them, we have people wearing multiple hats, doing multiple things, and then doing this program on top of it. There is work involved with this topic. So how much time can you allocate to do that work? It really comes down to that. With this program, you would be creating procedures for your topics that you select. You would be taking the time to implement those topics. That means, communicating with your staff, training your staff, and then going ahead and evaluating your program. So each piece does require time, right? So how much of it you can allocate, I guess it really depends on every person, because we're all different, right? And the jobs that we do. I'm not sure if that really answers.
And remember, you have 12 months to fully implement any of the topics in the program. So again, it's just finding, time and how things are going to be rolled out in the early stages and when the training is going to occur. It's just coming up with some type of project plan or timing and when things are going to be done and who's taking on ownership and what are the roles and who's taking on those roles to implement over the next 12 months.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I think it also depends a little bit on the topics and, of course, the number of topics you choose, because some topics are more involved than others, as well as how big your workplace is. Obviously, if you have large workforce and you have multiple sites or multiple shifts, that's going to add some more nuances to it. I always encourage people to try to have some time during the week, whether it's they sit down and have a coffee and watch a video, or they read through something, whether it's a half an hour, an hour, just to keep them involved. My experience is people that start strong and then they set it aside, they get forget, and they forget what they were doing, and they get lost. And sometimes they need help to get started again, which happens, and we're happy to help you to get started. But I would say if you could dedicate a half hour or an hour in some form, you could be writing, you could be watching a video or reading, but you want to keep active and keep working on it and not fall behind, because then that gets harder to start up again. I think the average is 5 to 6 months to get through a program. So that's why it's important, I think, at the beginning, when you've chosen your topics, to set out a tentative plan with target dates to help you, especially if you have a busy season. If you're agriculture and you know that you're planting, that's a busy season, but maybe you have a slower one later on in the year that you can make up. So that's thinking about your business and as Pretty and Stephen said, the resources you have to support you.
Thank you, Pam.
Sorry, I'd like to step in and just add a little bit more if I could, guys.
Sure.
You know what? This program is here. If you feel like you're unsure as to the amount of time that you're going to require, as we said at the beginning of the presentation, do one topic. Start moving forward. As you start moving forward, it's not going to cost you any different than that you're going to get that $1,000. So the majority of these businesses, the smaller businesses specifically, it'll cover the costs associated with it, and just go and start. If you don't start, you'll never move forward.
Thank
That's
you.
all I
Thank you,
got.
Vince. That's very well put. We really appreciate that, Vince. Thank you very much. It's a great suggestion. So, and I also know that you have our support as a provider. So we come with a team of consultants and our admin team. So, if there is ever a point where you're struggling, please reach out to the consultants assigned to your business. Our consultants do check in with our businesses at least at a minimum once a month, right? So any work that you do is reviewed and you are provided with feedback and recommendations by our consultants. Even the evidence packages that you'll be working on would be reviewed by your consultant. So you're not alone and struggling alone. If you are struggling, again, we always encourage you to have that conversation with your consultant. And we are there to help you to get you to the finish line. Okay. And our friend Jeff, our manager here, is also here. So he also kind of provided you with a quick note. So many businesses are completing these topics between 5 to 6 months, while others take 9 to 11 months. It really depends on how much time you're able to allocate to this program. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so we keep moving along. Is there more questions? Sorry, I'm just trying to switch screens.
Yeah. So just Marcus was just asking about the costs, again, associated with WSPS as the provider. So I did do a screenshot of our registration fee, but I did provide a link as well to the registration page. So again, it's based on premiums, amount paid. So that's what our cost is. So you'll see that in the chart there, Marcus.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephen. Any other questions that anyone has? And again, there is no right or wrong question. A question is a question, and we're here to support you. So, oh, thank you, Bruce. Excellent. So I think, oh, sorry, Bruce, I'm not quite sure I get what your last comment is. I need help. Sorry, Bruce, can you elaborate what you mean? Like, can you type in the concern or the comment you have?
It's there's two pieces here. It says I applied via WSPS for the program, ... And then the next one, but WSIB is saying we are not. I need help. Jeff sort of, it's in between there. So
Okay,
Jeff.
Thanks, Vince. So Bruce, if you're comfortable, we can take this offline. Oh, okay. Okay. So Bruce, I will reach out to you after the session later this afternoon, and I'm sure I can help you out with the concern you have. So you are registered in the program. I think I have your information. I will reach out to you after, okay? All right. Thank you, Bruce. Is there anyone else with any other questions or comments or concerns that you might have? And again, if it doesn't pop out now, you can still reach out to us after. So with that, I would like to thank you all for taking, thank you all. Thank you, Mary, for taking the time to coming to this session and, letting us provide you with information on Health and Safety Excellence Program. Thank you for your time again. We will be following up with some more information, email containing all the resources that we talked about. Thank you all and have a wonderful and a safe day. Take care. Bye.